The ancient Greeks are regarded by many as fostering some of the greatest minds humanity has ever known. Their philosophy has withstood the passage of time just as well as their magnificent art and architecture that inspires us even today. To visit the ancient sites of Greece is to connect to a time where truth, wisdom, and beauty were greatly valued in society. One ancient site can be found in the mountains north of Athens at Delphi. Here stands the remains of a great temple that was regarded as a divine source of truth, known as an oracle. Above one of the pillars, they saw fit to inscribe, "Know thyself," a virtue that was emphasized by the great philosopher Socrates, who said an unconsidered life was not worth living. Clearly, they saw this quest for self-awareness as one of the cornerstones of a life well lived. And whilst today in our fine universities, the ancient philosophers are studied and written about, how many of us can say we make the quest to know and understand ourselves a central focus of our life, as the guiding light that the philosophers suggest it should be? I'm introspective by nature, so I know this comes easier to me than for many. In my life, I've always been interested in what it means to be human and how we can reach our greatest fulfillment. Philosophy and spirituality can often seem far removed from the everyday concerns of life, but in my life they have been enormously helpful as a source of truth and conviction. And so, as I've learned some important lessons the hard way, I would like to share my story for what it's worth. Maybe in this digital age of global reach, it might touch a few hearts and perhaps open them to feeling. If this happens, then that is wonderful, because I suspect that ultimately that's the reason we are alive. I've been blessed to be born in one of the safest and most prosperous corners of the world. This enabled me to enjoy many of the things we wish for as people. I had security, a good education, freedom, and opportunity. As a young man, I used my freedom to pursue happiness, which to my immature mind meant all kinds of hedonistic pleasure. I certainly do not regret this, as it gave me an opportunity to connect with people from all walks of life and have some great experiences. But after a few years, I began to realize life was going to be limited on a low income, and so I began to seek ways of earning more money. By good fortune, I got a job in a bank, which unbeknownst to me was the start of a career in finance. Seeing the opportunity to progress, I put all aspects of life on hold and devoted myself to studying for exams and for my professional development. Consequently, within the space of just 10 years, I'd achieved what I wished for when I was washing dishes. The fruits of my career as a financial planner were that I traveled the world as much as I wanted, and within just a few years, I had enough money saved as a deposit for a house. To cut a long story short, I wished for more in life and I was given it in abundance. Listening to this story, it might seem I had everything a man could wish for, but what about love? Melissa came into my life when I was hungry for a deeper experience. She made me feel wonderful in every way, whether we were out on the town, sightseeing, or just having dinner at home. Somehow her happy smile and infectious chuckle made me feel like everything was all right in the world just because we were together. I felt like I wanted nothing more than to build a life with her. She came from the island of St. Vincent in the Caribbean, and she said it was her intention to go back there to build a home for life. She wished for a simple life and to go back to her roots, a life where people grow their own food and have plenty of time for each other. The idea of living in the West Indies greatly appealed to me, and after visiting once, I knew I could be happy there. On my brief visits, I made contact with the aspects of life I'd been yearning for in England. The focus on life in St. Vincent was on relationships, family, and community, as it's these things that enable people to live rather than the money they have in the bank. I foresaw a simple but beautiful future, raising a loving family in a house we built, eating fruit and produce from the garden, and drinking coconut water on the veranda with the sun going down. It's a funny thing, living in the future, but somehow it seems normal in the way that we live. Melissa could see her future clearly. She had purchased a good plot of land, and so she got to work planning and designing the house we were to build. All her energy was focused on that. At the same time, I was busy putting in the hours at work, trying to save as much money as possible towards the venture. In my mind, I thought this was what was required of me. Once we lived in St. Vincent, I presumed my income would be minimal, and I felt it was my duty to put good money on the table while I could. So even though there were signs that Melissa was unhappy, I rationalized that the future was going to be very happy. We just needed to get there. I now know that my focus on the future made me utterly absent as a partner. I stayed out late in the pub drinking. She got up early to go to the gym. We had little to talk about other than the future life we wished for. We did not say how we felt about things. If we had, perhaps I would have said that I was feeling afraid that I could not provide for her without my professional status, that I was afraid that I would be inadequate on an island where people were strong because life was hard. Perhaps she would have said that she was afraid that my love and commitment wasn't strong enough to raise a family together. She could have said that she wasn't happy with my drinking, and if that I didn't stop it, then she was going to leave me. Whatever we were feeling, it went unspoken, and love was diminished through the lack of intimacy. Just like that, everything I'd built my life around crumbled and disappeared, because in a very real sense, it was an idea for me. I was not present because I was living in the future. Life is inseparable from loss, and it is not promised for any length of time. It is all too easy to make plans and focus our energy on fulfilling them. But if this focus takes us away from the experience of living, we can stifle our engagement to life and to those we care about, and this usually leads to very poor outcomes. And so it is for people who desire to live with greater passion and sincerity that I create this space, for the unspoken yet insistent words and feelings within each of us to exist, for they are a part of life which may be essential to our well-being. Indeed, my experiences tell me it is so. Perhaps that is why the wise of the ancient world saw fit to carve a message so that we could see it even thousands of years later. Maybe now is the time that we should be listening to their words. I do not know where this will lead. All I know is that I intend to share to the best of my ability what I've learned about life, and hopefully to provide assistance and support that I did not have. My aim is to give others a window through which to see a human journey, and in that reflection perhaps to see their own struggle to realize that which we all seek, and perhaps a better way to get there.